For a transcript of this episode, training plans, and more, visit marathonsfortherestofus.com. Hey, Coach Carl here with another Marathons for the Rest of Us video. This week I'm going to be talking about how you can work to stay positive during the race itself. And in this video I'm going to be referring back to a couple different ideas that I talked about in my video about how to negative split during your race, and also the video about how to stay positive during your training. So if you want a little more background on those ideas, make sure to check those videos out as well. So I think the question of how to stay positive during your race is a great question to look at because one, it's really important to running a good race, and two, it is really hard. And so this is an area where we definitely need to put some emphasis in terms of getting you ready, having a plan in place so that you can implement it. And one of the big things that we need to do is that we need to convince your body to keep working hard and to keep running when it's tired. And realistically, this means we have to convince your mind to keep running hard when your body is tired, because your mind is calling the shots here and it's really interested in self-preservation. So its initial instinct is always going to be to shut things down when they're starting to hurt because it doesn't want you to harm yourself. So if we can train your mind to be okay with that, and there's a few things we can do during the training to do that, then you'll be well on your way to having a great race. So the first couple steps that you need to take in order to be able to stay positive during the race actually happen during the training for the race itself. And I think the first step is to make sure that you have a realistic goal in place. I think if you set an unrealistic goal, you're really setting yourself up for failure from the beginning, and it's going to be really difficult to stay positive during the race in that situation. And as you go through the training, of course, you can make adjustments to your goal time based on how things are going, either slower or faster, in order to make sure that on race day it is still a realistic goal. What you think a realistic goal is at the beginning of your training cycle may not end up being a realistic goal by race day, either in a positive way or a negative way. But either way, you need to make sure that you're adjusting as you go rather than sticking with the goal time that you picked, 4 or 5 months ago that may have no bearing on reality on race day. And the second thing that you need to do during your training is that you need to practice running while you're tired. And this is happening during the training because what we're doing is we're training for the race itself. And we need to, I like to use the phrase, teaching to the test. We need to teach to the test a little bit and practice doing the things that you're going to need to do on race day. So this could be in speed workouts, it could be in some sort of fast finish long run, it could be in long marathon pace runs. But the important thing to do is to get your body, and again, to get your mind used to the idea of pushing and running hard when you're tired and when the instinct is to slow down. We want your body to be used to that so that when you get into that situation, your mind can have positive thoughts during the race rather than freaking out because it's in a situation it's never been in before and sort of filling your mind and your body with negative thoughts. Now, if you're somebody that really struggles with anxiety, either performance anxiety or just nerves in general for the race, I think those few days leading up to the race can be a really nice time to remind yourself that one of the great things about marathons is all the training you put in beforehand and that journey you go through and the adaptations and the improvements that you see. It's not all just about how you do on race day. And I think that's especially true at the marathon because you run so few of them and because the training cycles are so long. And so I think that can help take some of the pressure off if you remember, hey, I got some really great benefits out of this training regardless of what happens on race day. I can feel really good about the work that I can put in. I can feel really good about the fitness I'm in and hopefully the fun that I had along the way. During the race itself, there's a few different things you can do to stay positive as well. And the first is to make sure not to go out too fast. And this will help increase the odds that you have a good race. And of course, having a good race is a great way to stay positive during the marathon. So setting yourself up well in those first few miles to run a negative split, or certainly not run a big positive split, can be really helpful in making sure that you stay positive later in the tough parts of the race, in those later stages when you're tired and you're having to work hard and it's really easy to be negative. And trying to run a negative split in general really helps because you'll be feeling good, you'll be speeding up as you go, and most importantly, you'll be passing people. Partly because you're running faster and partly because people who aren't negative splitting are coming back to you. And that momentum of passing people and building that rhythm as you continue to move from one person to the next, to the next, to the next can be really encouraging and really help you have a positive outlook because you feel like, man, this is going great. I feel really good. look at how well I'm doing. And that's a great way to sort of get that positive energy snowballing into those final stages of the race. Now, with all that being said, I think it's really important that you're honest with yourself that there will be parts of the marathon where you hurt. And you may have a pretty good idea of where those are going to come, either because the course has a big hill at mile 16 or something like that, or because you start to struggle at a certain point in your long run, so that may be a part in the race where you're going to struggle. Admitting that, kind of coming to terms with that ahead of time is really important so that you're not caught off guard and you're not in a situation where your brain wants to give up because this isn't the situation that you planned for. I think you always want to be realistic in your preparations and know that there are places and times where the race is going to hurt. As a good friend of mine, Steve, always says, this is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life. And if you come into it with that mindset, you're more apt to be pleasantly surprised with how the race feels rather than caught off guard and ending up feeling negative about it. Now, during the race itself, if you feel yourself starting to lose the positivity, you start feeling those negative thoughts creep in, I think one thing that can be really helpful is sort of to refocus just on the moment and what you're doing right then. And that could be, I want to catch up to that person in front of me, or I just want to make it to the next water stop or the next mile mark or whatever it is, and cutting down the picture. So you're not looking at the big picture anymore. You're looking at a very small picture right in front of you. I think it's a great way to stay in the moment, stay focused, and sort of fight off that negative energy when you feel it coming on. I think, if you're at mile 18 and you start to feel that and your brain starts thinking, how on earth am I ever going to get through these next 8 miles? I think you want to sort of shut those thoughts off by saying, it doesn't matter, I'm going to worry about getting through this mile, or I'm going to worry about getting through this water stop or this person in front of you. And then you can switch to the next goal and the next goal and the next goal. And taking it off in those bite-sized chunks, I think, is really helpful as a way to keep those negative thoughts at bay and sort of get you through that tough patch until you get to a part where you're feeling better, you're feeling more like yourself, and you get a little bit more of that momentum and positivity back. So those are my thoughts on how to stay positive during the marathon. I hope they were helpful. If you have further suggestions, I'd love to hear them in the comment section below, or you can shoot me an email, carl@runningcoachcarl.com. If you have suggestions for future videos, please leave those in the comment section below too. I'd love to know what you think of this video, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks so much.